Hi there, how are you? It's good to be back for the Hands Up for Trad afternoon show. It's been a great weekend again. Managed to get the hedges cut and the grass cut, and it's now brilliant. I can now see what my neighbours are up to. But unfortunately, there is no room in the green bins anymore, so it's back to the dump for me. Anyway, if you enjoy the afternoon show, please share it with your friends and tell us where you're watching from. We have got a great set of guests with us today. Please welcome Dallahan, Tim, Edey and 12th Day. Did you all have a nice weekend?
You're right, guys.
Not too bad.
Viewers online may notice that this is the Hands Up Trad afternoon show with the most virtual backgrounds ever. There's all lots of lovely pictures. Did you do anything interesting? Did you do anything interesting at the weekend, Katrina?
I did a bit of gardening. I'm at that point in lockdown now. It's gardening time.
Do you have to cut your own grass?
We've actually not got grass, thankfully. Got a nice gravelly area. And we've had a nice time sort of being quite social in the building with our neighbours. So we've been hanging out and we've all been pitching in and doing some planting in the back. So that feels good in time for summer. Oh,
that's lovely. Well, the other day that I was listening to the brand new 12th Day podcast, and on it is one of the guests on it is the fabulous Orkney fiddle and everything else teacher Douglas Montgomery. He's amazing and inspired so many people, and we're going to watch a video that he made for the Orkney Island Council instrumental service to engage kids in their learning during this difficult time. So let's watch it. That is totally fantastic. And one of the things about that video for all the kids up in Orkney is they can download the parts and play along with Douglas, which is just absolutely amazing. Anyway, our first guests today are Dallahan. Please welcome guitarist and singer Jack Badcock, banjo, mandolin fiddler Kieran Ryan, accordion player Andrew Waite, and fiddler David Lombardi. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
So, Jack, where does the band name come from?
It comes from a misheard word, because we were looking for a name and went through a lot of names. We were called Union Street first, and then Yanni, the original fiddle player, his wife Sarah, suggested the name Dallahan, which is like a headless horseman in Irish mythology. So, but Yanni misheard it as Dallahan,
I see.
which he thought was kind of cool. Right?
And is that why there's a horse on all of your album covers?
Yeah.
Interesting. There you go. I was wondering about that. And actually, Kieran, you're all quite a diverse band in terms of geography. How did you all come together?
I suppose it started in Sandy Bells in Edinburgh. Me and Jack we had just moved to Edinburgh in the same time as in 2011, and we just met in Sandy Bells. And then shortly after that, we met Yanni, who was doing a college course in music production, and he had to sort of record my project, so he chose us, and then he sort of put some fiddle on our tracks, and that became sort of basis of the band. And then from that, the EP came, and we added accordion to it, and eventually bass as well.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because you are. Obviously, because Andrew's from the Scottish borders. David, you're from Italy, which is probably the coolest. And what you're Brecon. And
Brecon.
I'm Brecon, pretty cool. And where are you, Jack? You down south, or are you the...
I grew up in Kilkenny and then Yorkshire as well.
Oh, right. Fantastic. And this diversity, I suppose, of material, when you're putting material together, Andrew, does this reflect on what you're going to come up with?
Well, when we're as a band, you mean?
Yes.
I don't know. I think a lot of the material came from Yanni at the start, or like the diversity in the style came from Yanni at the start, because he's, Hungarian, so that contributed a lot. But I don't really know. I think we all just bring wee bits and bobs.
I think you as a musician yourself, Andrew, you're always playing lots of different kinds of tunes.
Yeah, I've always been interested in the French jazz and musette stuff as well. So I'm always trying to push that, but none of them bite. So.
And David, as the next album, is that going to have lots more Italian stuff on it?
I don't think so. No, Italian. Maybe more kind of our own compositions, I'd say.
O sole mio.
Kieran's got an Italian wife, shows well.
All the classic.
We're going to watch the first video of you guys now, where it's the I Cheeky Cheeky video, which as soon as I saw it, I absolutely loved it, I have to say. I think as a band, I've always thought watching Dallahan is you've got great movement on the stage. Do you think about that when you're standing on the stage?
That's actually really, really scrupulously choreographed.
I think maybe it is. You are just quite natural. I mean, Jack, when you play your guitar, I always really enjoy the way that you move, I have to say. I think it's really good. And I suppose the one thing in this video, I Cheeky Cheekies, Andrew definitely wins on facial expressions.
I lose control of what my face does once I start playing. It's unfortunate.
Well, I think it works. So let's have a look at the video. That's totally great, actually. So, David, as we say, you're originally from Italy, and I was just looking at one of your biographies, and before you got to Scotland, you've been everywhere. tell us how you made it here.
Well, I studied in Ireland for like 4 years and then moved to Sweden for another 4 years, still like studying music.
Yeah.
And then I started to play with a band called Fourth Moon with Andrew, actually. That's how it. And the band was kind of based in Glasgow, so why not? Glasgow seems to be a good place to be, and good.
But you also spent a little bit of time in Nepal as well, India and Nepal.
They've been a few months in India, yeah, 3 months in India and Nepal, 8 months on a French island called Reunion Island, which is in the Indian Ocean. Been here and there last 12 years.
It sounds quite nice, I have to say. And
I went to Craman Island for a week.
That's where we used to go walking back in the day when I was a child, being brought up in Collington, go right over to Silverknows. So, Kieran, you've also just released an album as well, haven't you?
Yeah, in November, yeah.
And, obviously the launch has kind of been curtailed, but what was that? Did the album have a title, or was it just it was Bandjacks, that's right.
Bandjacks, yeah. So that name was actually, well, it was a bit of a feud because Jack and Andrew both claimed to suggested that name to me because it's a great name. Because it has there's so many reasons why it's the best name for that album. But they both I ended up thanking them both in the album sleeve. Inside.
Keep everyone on side.
Straight.
Yeah, well, that's it. I have to say, if you want to get a hold of the album, it's KieranRyanMusic.com. So, as a band, Dallahan, you always work very hard. Do you have any career highlights so far?
Oh, Nepal, I think.
Oh, yeah.
That's unanimous.
What was amazing about that?
Yeah. We had like a sort of, it was like a 9-week period, the busiest probably of any of our lives, where we did, the Rainer Zellner tour in Germany. You've done that as well, I think, the year before us. And that's sort of 5 weeks of gigging every night. And then we had a couple of weeks in Denmark, and then just finished off. We were like totally knackered, and just went straight from Germany to Nepal. And there's this band called Kutumba, who are sort of they're like the Nepalese folk band, and we did a sort of collaborative thing with them. It was a bit of a British Empire thing. Don't want to go into that too much, but it was just sort of to celebrate the British Nepalese relations, and we were sort of representing Britain and collaborating with them.
Oh, I thought we were representing Nepal. Sorry, I got that all wrong.
Well, some of
there for like 10 days.
Well, some of these gigs are just great opportunities. So, how lucky are we to get to see these different cultures that most people don't get to check out, actually. And sometimes you've just got to take the promoter that you can get. Right, well, on that trip you might have seen some lizards, and I found a little video of Kieran and Andrew meeting some lizards. I can't actually make out the name of this. Might be Blaze the lizard.
Services.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it was an iguana, technically, was it?
No, it was a bearded
dragon.
Oh, well, it looks like fun. It looks like fun. Let's watch it.
Weird. Hello. What is? What's his name? Sorry.
Oh, this one's called Blaze.
Times.
Yeah, Blaze the lizard. I have to say, the way that Kieran looks into the camera there is a bit spooky.
I know.
He looks like a lizard.
It's been so long since I've seen a service station. I kind of missed the old service station.
So let's talk about your latest album, Small World. Did that come out in 2018, Jack?
2019.
2019.
Yeah.
And that was a difficult third album, I suppose. Did you, Andrew, approach this album in a different way?
Well, I think the second album just happened I was kind of there for writing for about half of it. Some of the material was already there. So this one was more like the band sound, because it was the five of us that are on it that spent a few weeks writing it together. So it was.
It's much more original. So.
Yeah, I think it's like more of the character of the band than the other ones maybe.
Yeah, aye, because it sounds great actually. We're going to play the is it Footsteps? Yeah, Footsteps from you live at Celtic Connections at BBC. This was great actually. You guys sounded great on that programme.
Thank you.
Is this one of your songs, Jack?
Yeah, that's the first song I ever wrote.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's getting dumped.
Well,
Gotta start with them.
Well, let's hope you don't have to write any more of them. I've got the picture of there's the album cover on the screen now. People can see it. And if people want to buy it on the screen, they can now see dallahanmusic.com. Go and check it out. Lots of great photos on there of the band having a lovely time wearing multicoloured T-shirts.
Oh, I regret that day.
I know, it's really good. It's like seeing an early Take That. Anyway, let's watch Footsteps by Dallahan.
If you're ever coming home, I will take you in and tell you things you never want to hear. Like by now you should have worked it out, and if not, then I don't see how we could make it to a year. Cause so far your hands may be clean, but it's faith I don't have in you. You're away from home. Cause you left me drinking in the sun, and I need someone who won't just leave me on my own without a trace. Your footsteps through the days when we fell apart, for to learn for yourself all the ways that you lost this heart. You left a bitter taste when you threw our love away like that from one day to the next. But since then I've got to moving on, and I try my hardest to see how it might be for the best.
Aye, that's a great video. Very good. So just a few shout outs to everyone who's watching. Hi to Philip in Dull, Norwich, Helen in Dull, London. Hi Joni, it seems like it's a lovely day in Tobermory. And there's Graham. Hi Graham, King's Kettle. Beautiful day in Ottawa in Canada. Oh, that'd be lovely to be there, I have to say. And also Peterborough, Ontario. I bet that's nice as well. It's a small country, Canada. There's Gail Smith saying all is well in Baillieston, and she's been spending the morning writing some poems, and she wrote one earlier in the year for a member of 12th Day, although she's not saying who. And there's hi to Vincent from Leeds, and Hannah from Melbourne. Fantastic. It's great to see everyone. Now remember, keep telling us where you're watching from, and if you get a chance, share this video wide and far so we can get loads of people to catch all these brilliant musicians. So next up we have one of the best musicians in the world today, accordion player and guitarist Tim Edey. Hi Tim.
Hi Simon, how are you doing?
Oh,
how are you doing?
That's very good.
Simon, do you like my background? I just changed it to the man from Wick.
Yeah, Gordon Gunn, of course, yes. What a guy. So Tim,
sorry.
How did you start playing music?
Well, I think my earliest memory would have been on the piano. I was playing a real instrument like Mr. Andrew Waite there, a piano accordion. I was a piano accordion player for a long time. Well, for a long time I could never have got to Andrew's height, but I had to give it up because I broke my wrist and it was very heavy. The 72 bass, it was too heavy, so that's why I started the button box, the smaller, the melodeon, and I was about 14, I think, when that happened. But I think I was about 4, Simon, and I played I wouldn't call it playing, but messing around, piano and stuff like that.
And with that,
guitar came a little.
Sorry, go on. Tell me about guitar.
No. Guitar came a little bit later, I suppose. Like my mum's Irish, and she left when she was about 14. So grew up in kind of, I suppose, between Ireland and London. Classic sort of London Irish. But we had a lot of records like Chieftains and Silly Wizard and all the classic, and a little bit of Fairport and and then I suppose mostly the Irish and Scottish stuff, Celtic stuff. And then I played. I always had a guitar in the house. My dad's a gypsy jazz. He's a Django fan. He's not a professional, but that's his kind of thing. And so that was kind of how I got into doing it. And then I sort of really decided I wanted to sort of, I suppose, knuckle down to the box and guitar when I saw this duo from Ireland called Begley and Cooney, and it was kind of Steve Cooney who sort of, I suppose, I probably wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him, to be honest, probably. But that was kind of that's kind of a brief history.
Now you have been very, very busy in this lockdown time. Am I got this right that you've released 3 Sleeping Tunes albums and a Locked in a Box album?
Well, no. Well, do you know what? I exaggerate slightly, but I did 2 lockdown albums. I mean, if you can call them albums, I mean they're very simply recorded. It's a very simple. It's all kind of as I always say, warts and all. But I decided that I would just record. I do this thing on Saturday nights, and I've done it I suppose I've done it since our first child was born, Ava. It was I started doing it when Isabel was pregnant. I needed something to keep me occupied, and as any dads on here or mums will know, you when you're a musician, you kind of get any minute, as much as you love, I love being a dad, but of course you don't get a whole lot of time. As you know, Simon, you know well. And so I decided I'd do this Saturday night Facebook thing, and I kind of gave it up for a year or so. But when lockdown started, I thought, I'd start that again. And I did a little guitar album, Sleeping Tunes 3, complete with noises of the kids in the background. And it's very complicated. Where we live here, we live in a little village in Perthshire in Dunning. Don't know if anyone knows Dunning. It's famous for the place that Ross Ainsley famously played the bagpipes with his top off, but I mustn't go into that story. I've been told not to go into that story, but he might sue me. But yes, Dunning it's about 10 miles south of Perth, and we've been back here about a year. We were in Ireland before that, and then down in the south of England. But here where we live in this old sort of cottage upstairs and our neighbours downstairs, you have to be a bit careful what times you play, if you know what I mean. So I can't play the box, for example. I wouldn't play it now because I know he's reading his paper downstairs and he doesn't like the it'd be interesting, actually. I must ask this to Andrew Waite after, how he finds if he has neighbours that are understanding of the box, because it's hard. It's really hard.
Well, I mean, I've actually got a box question, because we are about to watch a clip of you playing the box with Mark Clement, Charlie McKernan, and Ross Ainsley. Now, my question is, you play a lot of chromatic runs in the box, and I thought this was a diatonic accordion that you were playing. Am I wrong?
Now, Simon, I now this is where the secret comes out. So as you know, Simon, I wanted to mention this, actually. It was 2 of the people, actually, many years ago. Do you remember when yourself and Luke Daniels did the Young Tradition Award? Do you remember Katrina MacDonald? And I used to watch all that. Of course, I suppose I was probably a young teenager, I think. And I used to watch how you and Luke would, you'd do these mad runs and, mad things on the boxes. And of course, Luke was on the BC Irish chromatic, button box. And I know you were playing the concertina with that, some of the chromatic notes. And I couldn't understand how people like yourselves and other musicians like Martin O'Connor and other people I heard were doing this, and I was kind of stuck. I was playing a thing called a DG, which it's a great instrument. Don't get me wrong, it's great, but it's very limited, and because you've only really got a sort of D and G row with a couple of accidentals. So I kind of got really upset when I was playing with session A9, because of course the boys would always be playing an F and B flat, and I was able to play kind of half the tune, but I'd be stuck, and I sort of, so I thought, do you know what? Why don't we get a free row made with a sort of Irish system? Well, in fact, it's a Scottish thing as well. Jimmy Shan played one, of course, a Hona free row. And so what I have now, Simon, it's kind of a bit of a cheat, but it's like an Anglo-Irish system. It's C sharp D G, so you've kind of got both. I tell you, there's lots of younger players, amazing players, especially one particularly comes to mind, Sam Mabbott in Glasgow. He's an English player, or an English man, or boy. I knew him as a boy, but he's a man now. But he's in Glasgow now, and Sam has designed his own DG with, I believe, the accidental. So it's a DG can be very restricted. But you're right, Simon. It is a diatonic with a bit of a cheat.
Well, let's watch the video.
That was the funniest gig in the world, that, Simon. I was just saying to Andrew, but Ross Ainsley, that was the night he got me. I'd never vaped in my life, Simon. I've been such a good lad. I've never smoked or anything like that. And although I did, I've never tried the old smoking. But Ross tried me the vaping, and that it was watermelon flavour, Simon. He blew it into my face, and sorry. Good memories.
Good memories. Well, I mean, in the last period, you've also just released an album with JP Cormier. How did that come about?
Yeah. Oh my God, Simon. Anybody that sort of knows my playing will know that I've always been somebody like everybody on here, probably self-taught with a bit of coaching here and there. And you develop, I suppose, favorite players and stuff like this. And for me, of course, so I mentioned Steve Cooney, but JP Cormier was always one of my favorite sort of players from, I suppose, about 15 years ago. I first heard of him. He did an album called Another Morning, and for anybody listening that doesn't know JP, I mean, it's an awful thing, but I suppose JP, am I right in saying this, everybody? He'd be more well known in Canada than he perhaps would be in Scotland or England. I think he's pretty well known in Shetland. He's a household name in Shetland, and in people in Scotland probably know his name, but certainly UK, he'd be bigger in Canada. But the man is a monster flat picker on the guitar. He's a bit like I suppose he's a bit, I don't know, would you describe him as a Tony Rice of Celtic music? I don't know if that's a good description, but I just became fascinated with him. And about 12 years ago, I went to Celtic Colours for the first time with Brendan Power. Brendan took me over there, and it was kind of, it was a big trip for me because I hadn't been able to fly for about a year because I used to get awful panic attacks. I'm very open about this, and it was a big trip, and so Isabel and Brendan kind of dragged me onto this plane, and I did it. And the first people we did a gig with was JP, and oh Jesus, Simon, it was just the first time I ever met him. I knew his music, I had his records, and we just kind of clicked. And I was very much in an accompaniment role. I do play a tiny bit of lead, but I mean, I'm sort of we just have great fun. I sort of back him, but occasionally I'll sort of I suppose mess around and go into a bit of we just have great fun. And that album true story. It was recorded we just sat down and we just played. Now, in fairness, that was 2 years later. I think that was the second time I went. So, but we went to his studio in Cape Breton and we just did it. And then we were supposed to tour the album. We never managed to do that. But we went to Shetland last year. We did go to Shetland, and oh my God, we had a great time. But yeah, he's amazing. Anyone get a chance to see him, Google him later, and you'll have to check him out.
Yeah, he's absolutely he is fabulous, I have to say. Tim, you're actually going to play a wee tune for us later. But actually, we're going to watch another clip of you playing here. It's a solo concert you did in January at Dublin Tradfest.
That was pre-lockdown. Yes,
and it's a lovely. The sound is great, and the clip that we're going to play is the O'Carolan piece.
Yes. Simon, this was a lovely. This was a really fun gig. I mean, I was sort of. I won't. Sorry, I'm a terrible. You know what I'm like, Simon. I'll be quiet now because I'm a terrible man for talking. That was a really fun gig, and the sound man was really good. My God, he was ever so good. I think, that was a fun gig, and but my wing mirror got knocked off in Dublin that day, which was not good, so good. But I got it fixed.
I was going to ask, are you using a loop pedal in it?
Yes, I probably am. I'm just thinking of the clip. I'm probably using a loop pedal. I've
it's
been
very
a bit
subtle. No, it's subtle. That's why I'm asking. Yeah.
Well, you're very polite. The loop pedal is a funny thing. It's a great thing, and I'm sure everybody here knows. Well, has used one as well. But they're yes, I'm learning now little bits about looping that you learn as you go on. It's a subtle, I think, is a good idea. You can get carried away, as I did one time when I recorded 10 guitars and then decided to have a cup of coffee in the middle of the gig. And you are allowed to do that, right? But I got told off.
Well, I have to say, I also love the key change at the end. I thought that was lovely. Well, let's watch. Let's let everyone see it at home. Lovely playing, Tim. Lovely playing. Right, just a few more shout outs to our viewers. Rosemary's saying that Glasgow's lovely. Yes, it is a lovely place to be, but it's not so nice out my window, I have to say. Debbie, hi from Peterborough in Ontario. Andy is on location in Sheffield. And Graham Cairns says he's loved Tim's sessions on the Saturday night. And there's Jan Scobie Willis. Good morning from Calgary, right beside the beautiful Rocky Mountains. I've been there. It's absolutely gorgeous. And there's Mary Ann from Chicago. And hi, Tom. Hi, Debbie in Cape Breton. JP, a great player. Celtic Colours, amazing, she says. And hi to Ian. And hi to Jane Smarzik, who's also saying hi to Carson. So, there you go. Right, next up, we have one of the most original acts on the Scottish scene today, their 12th day. They innovate so much of the time, making great music and video. So welcome fiddler Katrina Price and harpist Esther Swift.
Hello.
Hi, Simon.
I should say you also sing as well. Lots.
Yeah.
Sure.
So Katrina, where did you guys meet?
We actually met at school. So we were both at St Mary's Music School in Edinburgh, and I came down from Orkney for my last 2 years of school, just to be among more music nerds. And Esther was one of those, and she had been there since she was 8. And so we met there, and then we happened to be going to the same college down in Manchester, and we became flatmates there. And then we started sort of chatting about music a lot, and realised we were on a very similar page about wanting to innovate from where we'd come from in our traditions, and started jamming together. And then 12th Day sort of gradually started to happen, and we started doing gigs for college, and then we started recording. And
I have to say, you've stolen my joke there, because I was going to say, when did you decide to become a band? Was it the 12th day after you met? So that's gone now.
I wish it was. Yeah, sorry about that.
So Esther,
the names to me.
So Esther, I mean, I'd say you always look like you're having a great time together. What's it you think that makes you connect?
You know what? I think we're just both into lots of really weird music. So yeah, we've basically grown up together with our music. So we have like super similar tastes. And so we've had all of this time, because we studied together for so long, to explore our kind of our weird likes of different types of music. So yeah, I think we're both just quite strange, basically.
Well, actually, because of that, we have got this perfect video to show you just enjoying yourselves together. This is you're both having a wee dance in somebody's kitchen. I like the bit where you bump into each other and knock over the washing.
I have no idea
This is scary.
Oh, it's great.
Either.
Let's have a look at it.
Put my head, I can sing it in the air. Sing it in the air. Put my head, put my head. I can sing it in the air. I can sing it in the air. Put my head, I can sing it in the air.
Oh, it's a great video, actually. It reminded me, because last Monday we had Aval on, excuse me, and Aval had a dancing video all of their own. So you've just joined my collection of dancing videos.
Everyone must do dancing. Oh, that one. I'm seeing it now. Yes. That was a good dance.
Oh, yeah. Rhiannon Giddens. She's a legend.
In my parents' old kitchen in London. Oh my God.
So when did you make your first album together, Katrina?
We made our first album in our final year of college in 2010, and it was very much a kind of it was a bit of a novice album, not gonna lie. Our friend recorded it for us, and we just did it in 2 days at college, and we don't sell that anymore. But it was a really good way to learn how to make an album and just experiment with stuff. And I think at that point, because we'd been kind of focusing on our studies for so long, we were just we didn't really know what we wanted to create with 12th Day. We were just trying out loads of stuff and sort of throwing everything into our arrangements and not really honing it in yet. So I think the record after that, then that's when we started feeling like we really had our sound.
And Esther, was it around this time, because you did some amazing travelling as well as a duo as well? You were going to lots of different communities and working with them, which the name of the countries has was it Madagascar?
We went to Malawi in
Malawi.
Africa, and Quebec, and we went to Brazil and Mongolia, which was great as well.
And you were working
Yeah,
with
and
local communities as well, weren't you?
Yeah, it was our own project. We won a grant through the Deutsche Bank Awards, and so we got to travel to these 4 countries, sort of experiencing different folk traditions in these places, and quite niche traditions, I guess, in little village communities and things. And the project was called Roots to Roots, and it's kind of still ongoing. We hope to develop it further. And invite other musicians over here at some point in the future.
Amazing. And that must have influenced, Katrina, the music that you make.
Definitely, yeah. I think a lot of it's sort of seeped in. Like with all of the stuff we write, we never sort of approach things usually thinking we're going to try and make this sound like this, or we're going to try and make this sound like this. It's more after something has been written, we'll start hearing, oh, I think that maybe some African influence sort of seeped in there, or some Brazilian seeped in there. It's quite nice, that sort of the natural osmosis.
Yeah, well, I suppose now though, after your 2-day first album, I've made a few of them myself, you're now onto your 4th album called Face to Face. Esther,
yeah,
yes,
indeed.
It sounds great. I was listening to it this morning.
Thank you.
What is there any different thoughts behind this album?
Well, this one was self-produced. So we had Chris Wood producing our previous album, Cracks in the Room, and he kind of opened up our ears to sort of different dimensions with sound and like production possibilities. So it was really funny experimenting with distance. And yeah, we're really chuffed with this album. We had Oz Fritz mixing and mastering this album, who works for us over in the States.
So I was actually going to ask you about that, actually, because how did you end up getting it mixed in Nevada City?
Yeah, that was through Chris on the last album. He'd really admired Oz's work from afar, and Oz has done some amazing stuff, working with Tom Waits notably, and lots of other amazing people, and so we were really excited at the chance to work with him, and then we just loved what he did so much that we asked him to work on this new album as well, which was great, and that we feel that gave some continuity between the 2 albums as well, which was nice. And this was actually the first time we'd had other instruments on an album. Like, it's always just been the 2 of us so far, and this time for about half the tracks we added drums and bass, which was really fun to expand the sound a bit.
Well, before we're going to watch your latest single, the video for Deep Dark Beast, but I just happened to, on social media the other day there, start listening to your podcast, Figuring Out How to Be at Home, and it's lovely.
Oh, thanks, Simon.
So are you the editor, Esther?
Yeah, I am. It's it's quite a nice job, actually, because I just basically get the chance to hear Katrina and I rambling on, which is something that I missed anyway a lot of the moments. So.
Well, so there's 3 episodes out so far, and I've only listened to the 3rd one, but there's some great interviews with Douglas Montgomery and Tom Bancroft and Ailey Robertson. I totally recommend go and look at it. So it's called Figuring Out How to Be at Home. You'll find it on iTunes and Anchor and all of these different places. And also, if you go to 12thdaymusic.com, that's on your screen at the moment, you will find more information about that and Face to Face. But before we watch this last video, tell us about this video shot in Edinburgh Zoo.
Yes. So we went to Edinburgh Zoo with our photographer, Yannicka Honey, an amazing Edinburgh-based photographer, to do our publicity shots. And we work with an amazing video filmmaker called Daniel Warren, and he's done a couple of videos for us before, and we just absolutely love working with him. He's definitely on the same page as us. And he was a bit short of time around that time when we asked him to do a video. So he said, don't worry, I've got a plan. He knows Yannicka, and he said he just asked Yannicka to do loads and loads of outtakes at the photo shoot and then cut them all together to make a sort of stop motion with photos. So that's what we've got in Do Dirt Beast. And we just absolutely love this video, and we feel like it really captures what we were trying to say with the song as well. So
it's very beastly.
Well, I totally agree. It's a great video, and it's so nice to see some wild animals.
Yes, I know.
Well, let's watch it now.
They are on stage. Check out how ethereal they are. Take a good look. She's so sweet, you could just cuddle her. Tweet. The world needs to see her cute belly button. Click. Take the moment away with you in your pocket. Flash. It's as if you're really there. Take a good long look. The man's coming closer, you just heard him say look out. If I was 50 years younger, you better watch out. Celtic angels, such delicate beguiling fairies haunting your worst nightmares. Well, never will you cease. This deep dark beast with your stumblings and fumblings, she will stir. She will growl and prowl, she will claw and saw under your bed, in your head, she will lurk.
Hey, that is a fabulous video, and I recommend going searching. You'll find it, as I say, on the 12th Day website. It's also 12th Day YouTube channel and their Facebook page, where you also find that dancing video if you'd like to watch it again.
Among other lots of very intelligent content.
Yes, lots of that. I ignored all of that for the dancing video. So guys, what's happening for the rest of the day?
I'm gonna go for a big cycle.
Are you?
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. Same
Cool.
here.
Where are you going to cycle about?
I don't know, I might go to North Berwick.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Guys, may I ask, sorry, are you using road bikes or are you using mountain bikes? I ask because Russ Ainsley's Piper is telling me to buy a road bike, and is it worth it?
Go for a
Seriously.
road
Oh yeah,
bike.
totally.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So it's worth the money, guys. Say, buy a cheap one, a 200 quid one from Halfords or anything, or...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Andrew looks... Yeah.
They're all sold
Yeah.
out now in Halfords though.
I got mine
Are
from
they?
a second-hand place.
How's a road bike different to a mountain bike?
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't have suspension. No suspension and the thinner tires.
Oh, right, I see.
Faster, or...
Much lighter. Yeah.
Lighter.
Well, I have to say that's the first mountain bike conversation on the Hampstead Afternoon Show.
Absolutely fascinating.
So I should say that thanks to Creative Scotland for making the afternoon show possible, and many other things possible, I have to say. We will be back on Wednesday with Blazing Fiddles, and I think we've got most of them on the show, which will be good fun. But it won't be any mountain bike conversations, I doubt, though, so it's be slightly sad. And I don't know if they're any good at dancing, so well, that won't be so interesting either. But Tim, what are you going to play for us?
Simon, I was just thinking, I seen I seen on video Kieran and Jack, and I thought, I wonder, can we have like a virtual guitar trio? But I know that somebody told me the lag. It's a lag, isn't it?
It'll be a disaster.
Try.
I know. And even if we could play the larks in the morning.
I think it'd be quality entertainment.
Yes.
I want to see it.
Not for the listeners, though.
Well, you know what? What I thought I'd do, Simon, you're talking about JP, and I thought, you know what? I'll play you a lovely little. It's a slow tune because I'm afraid my excuse for my mistakes and me playing today is a good one. This lockdown, I don't know about any of your listeners or any of the gang here, but I've been getting. I always get bad eczema on the hands, and this whole business of going to the shop and washing your hands, and it's taken a big toll on my hands, and so I get these awful cracks. Evidence based. Yes, I will show you. I'm sorry, I won't show you the infected one, but I'm going to play you a slow tune, a very slow tune, which originally is a Scottish tune, and like so many of their tunes, they I suppose in the famine. Geez, I'm going mad in the famine. That was in Ireland. The clearances. They went to Scotland. I'm going mad. Highland clearances went to Cape Breton. Yes, to Cape Breton. And so this is a sort of a Scottish tune which kind of made its way into the Cape Breton repertoire. That's right. And I'll play you Simon. I won't play much. I'll just play a nice little taster, just a sliver. Do you know what this is like, Simon? This is like a slider. You know the slider burgers you get, little taste.
Oh yeah. Well, that sounds great. Actually, I'll just add to that 12th Day have an album called Cracks. And there's something.
I should be.
Sorry,
see, everything's connected. Right,
Yeah.
Thanks very much, guys. Let's listen to Tim playing.
Okay, here we go. This time of day, guys, that my neighbor plays Call of Duty. Come on, guys, unmute. Let's do it. Simon, permission to play a tune all together just at the end, just for the crack. We have to do it.
Okay.
What about It's working. It's working. Guys, it's working.
I don't know if that's what I would say, but on to go then.
I think it sounds great.
Right. Who's counting us in? I'll count us in, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you very much.